If it wasn't for this place, I don't know what I would have done.
I'm Kim Beauregard, President and CEO of InterCommunity, Community Behavioral Health Solutions. Our main office is located in East Hartford. Historically, we serve the towns of Wethersfield, Newington, Rocky Hill, Marlborough, and Glastonbury. We're funded primarily by the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, and we're considered an LMHA, Local Mental Health Authority. We serve adults who have chronic and persistent behavioral health issues and have done it for approximately 35 years.
Wonderful, thanks, Nancy.
InterCommunity has a long history of providing mental health and substance abuse services to people in local communities. Our story begins with a church in South Glastonbury called the South Glastonbury Congregational Church. Many years ago, people who belonged to the church told this story. It was actually 3 families that sat in the church basement and told the story of how when one of their children was in the hospital and had broken an arm, that neighbors and family and friends came over to them, came over to the house and brought dinners and condolences and helped them. However, when their other son was in the hospital with mental illness, nobody came over. Nobody stopped to talk, nobody brought them anything, and people really shunned and shied away from them. So that really has been one of our primary goals at InterCommunity, besides providing the great services that we do, is really to fight stigma, to educate people in the community around mental illness and substance abuse and what it means to them, and how people really do recover. And we see that every day at InterCommunity. We're honored to work with clients and staff who work together as a team to bring health and hope and happiness to them. And what this does is make people better to be working in the community as valuable citizens. As InterCommunity continues to grow, we're very excited about our future. Over the past several years, we've opened children's services that includes clinical services that we're very excited about, that really has addressed an unmet need in the community for children. We've also opened a wholly owned subsidiary called InterConnections that we're very proud of. And we're excited about the future because there's so much going on in healthcare reform that it is scary to people. It's a lot of unknowns. But what we know and what we've done for 35 years at InterCommunity is provide high quality services to people who are in need and in distress. And our goal and hopes are always to help people to recover their lives and to become again productive citizens, family members, and loved ones. And that matters to all of us.
Well, since my attitude towards life has improved vastly, I said the next step would be to get out there for myself. So I came to Employment Services, and I worked with Jess, and we explored various areas of what I would like, what I'm interested in, because I don't have a lot of history with employment, because I stayed home as a homemaker, you know, for 21, 22 years. So, you know, I wrote down a bunch of ideas, and I've only been working with her for a little over 2 weeks, and I want to work with animals because that's one of my passions. And I have an interview today, only 5 days after, and I just pray I get this job. Of course, Jess will be the first one. She offered me the services of helping me do up a resume, because I never formally, you know, had the need for one. They've just been a tremendous help, and once again, very grateful, very grateful.
You know, join the Common Ground as, you know, the place where I gotta admit I really got my recovery down there. It's a social rehab club. I really didn't have to come anymore, but I like Common Ground so much, it gets me out of my apartment, you know, and I like coming to help other people because I am a volunteer leader. I'm in charge if there's no staff down there. I learned how to do computers down there.
Maybe in March I started going to Common Ground. First I would just maybe go there before group and have tea and buy a lunch, because at one point I was hardly eating when my depression was so severe. And then later on I would sometimes come in just to get out of my house and just go down there and maybe bring a book and my tea to drink. And then people started introducing themselves to me, and so I've got friendly with a lot of people down there, and it's a good place. It's supportive. You don't feel alone. You don't feel. You can talk about your problems, and you don't feel you're going to be condemned.
My parents had already done some research, and they found InterCommunity, having no idea the different kinds of services there were here. They just assumed I'd be in therapy and have a doctor. But I've gone to community support looking for housing because I could not stay with my parents for a long period of time. At community support, she's taught me how to budget, how to get out in public, how to find my way to the different colleges and help me look at courses, make plans to go out in public to different places. I go to Common Ground, which has been wonderful. I have a reason to get up every day and a place to go. I volunteer on the clerical unit. Basically, we do most of the database for the people that come here. We do a lot of work orders for different staff. We keep track of who comes to Common Ground and the hours that they volunteer. Like I said, it's a reason for me to get up in the morning and come here because I know I'm going to do something useful.
I was just in really terrible shape. And I was seeing another therapist, a pastoral counselor, and I just knew I needed medication as well. And so I trying to get medication, and I called psychiatrists that were all booked up. And then so I called the woman, the APRN, that had been prescribing for me, and she didn't want to take me back as a client because she said she didn't want to, have me spending my money on like the full charge because I didn't have a job. I got an appointment with John Avenel, and so it was early in January of '09. I never had such a complete intake evaluation with him. He didn't rush, he was so thorough and so insightful, and just really great. And so then afterwards I started a depression anxiety group with Melissa Ellick, who I can't say enough good about. She's just so wonderful.
Client here and also a member of Common Ground. I also was experiencing some mental difficulties or mental illness issues during my work period, which I found difficult to deal with, and I lost my employment. My family didn't know how to deal with me at the time, since I was the only family member going through this illness, mental illness, disability, whatever you want to call it. And it was very hard to find someone to talk to who could understand or relate what I was going through. I did end up going to a psychiatric hospital. I went to the IOL. I did like a month there. And then my second episode of a psychiatric breakdown, I ended up going to Manchester. I did about 3 months there, and I was referred from them to come here. If it weren't for InterCommunity, I really don't know where I would have been. I mean, they helped me with my disability issues, they helped me with my housing, and they've helped me find new friends, whereas where I was rejected in the past, here I've been able to get new acquaintances, new friendships, and be able to get that bond that I once had before with people out in the general that I didn't have before, that I lost.
Here through being homeless. I started in a program. I'm not sure if it's like a HUD program, but the lady who runs the program is a part of InterCommunity, and the requirements was that I start seeing the doctors here, which I really was kind of like doubtful because I've been in IOPs for a long time. I've been in a psychiatric facility for a couple of times, and luckily to say I haven't been recently, and that's through coming here, and having my one-on-one with my therapist, and coming here on a weekly basis, and also in my recovery. when I started here, I did the intake, and the lady, I'm not sure of her name, but she was very detailed, like most of you commented about. She was very thorough. I didn't feel like a stranger when I left. I had some kind of hope, like maybe this time is different. This time I could get some stability. I go to therapy once a week, and the group is a wonderful group. It teaches me how to stay grounded. It teaches me some acceptance on who I am, that it's okay to make a mistake. I really love InterCommunity. I like the people here because I feel like I'm a part of something. I'm not a member of the Common Ground because I'm so busy, but when I come here, it's like we all a family. You know, it's not a clinic. It doesn't give me that clinic atmosphere feeling, you know, where you're number 7 and you're number 15. It's like, hey, how you doing? Excuse me. And everybody in their own zone. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you respect people because they have an illness. Their illnesses may not be of mine. It may be a little more advanced. But it's okay. It's okay to see somebody else like that. So I'm not holding any judgment or anything like that. And I don't feel like I'm being judged.
My story starts back in 1999. I was feeling a little out of sorts. So I opened up an insurance book and I said, nah. I went to a therapist, thinking doctors and therapists knew it all. I commenced. Right away, within 2 visits, I was diagnosed with this, and this. And unfortunately, I believe now I became a pharmaceutical guinea pig. I have been in and out of the Institute of Living about 40 times now. I hope that not an all-time record high. In 2008, I came to InterCommunity after I started drinking, well, 6 years ago. And it got to a point where I had all these things. They were telling me this and telling me that, and I just couldn't put them together, and eventually I just really fell off. I almost died, and after 2 months in the hospital, intensive care and all that, I was finally directed to InterCommunity. With my therapist here, she actually made me work. It wasn't just a crab session. You know, I'd go in and sit down and say, oh, this is bad, that's bad. I had to be a part of it. Almost 7 months ago, I said, okay, this is the last part of this. I'm taking care of me. I've been sober now for almost 7 months. Thank you. I can face each day with a smile and be grateful I'm alive. I can process things. Just because I have a mental illness does not mean that I have to freak out every time I get some bad news. I have to thank everyone here, because I got nowhere in 8 years, and I came here 2.5 years ago, the day I left the hospital, and it's been nothing but finding that happiness I was searching for so long.
Like I said, even the receptionists are wonderful. You come in here and every day you get a smile and a hello, and they know who you are. You run into anybody in the building basically, and they know who you are, whether they're a doctor or a therapist. I just can't say enough good things about InterCommunity and Common Ground, and the skills I've learned and the people I've met. Coming back to Connecticut for me was very, very difficult. South Carolina was where I lived, and basically I lost everything because of my illnesses. And I've come back here, and I did find a life in Connecticut. And it's all because of InterCommunity and Common Ground.